My name is Gavin Evans, and this is my review of Mission Impossible Fallout. And this review will have spoilers, so there's your warning. But when people talk about the best action movies ever, they talk about Die Hard and Terminator 2 Judgment Day and Aliens and Raiders of the Lost Ark, and Mad Max Fury Road, and The Raid Redemption. And, like, rightfully so. I love those movies, but if you're talking about the best, it has to be this one. It is just perfect in every single way, and I would even say it's one of the best movies ever made. So let's begin by talking about the cast. And Tom Cruise gives one of the best performances of his career here. Because, yes, he's tough and cool and a badass. The fact he does his own stunts is just crazy, and I love how committed he is to this franchise, to this movie. But he's also really funny, and he brings some real emotional depth here. There's vulnerabilities that he showcases so incredibly well, so he is truly outstanding. And look, back in 2018, I believe Rami Malek won Best Actor for Bohemian Rhapsody, and if it were up to me, that would have gone to Tom Cruise for his performance here. He is that good. But then we get Henry Cavill, who plays my second favorite villain of the franchise. Like, I love how he's so obviously evil from the get go, but he's way worse than you could ever possibly imagine, and he has a real menacing physique, and he feels like a real threat. And I thought Henry Cavill brought this character to life perfectly. Then we've got Ving Rhames, who is just so charming and likable and funny, and I love what he brings to these movies. Simon Pegg, I really like how you can see Benji's progression from Mission Impossible 3 to now. He really has grown as a character, and I love how smart he is. I love how funny he is, and Simon Pegg just brings him to life perfectly. Rebecca Ferguson is terrific. I love how she's put at odds against Ethan, but you can still tell that they care for each other, and it just makes for a very fun dynamic. And she just plays every beat of this character to perfection. A really great character, a really great performance. She better not actually be dead. I will be pissed if that's the case. Sean Harris, I actually think, is much better in this movie than he was in Rogue Nation, because I kind of just like how petty he is. He really does just want revenge against Ethan at this point, and it just makes for a more interesting character, and I thought he did a great job playing him. Alec Baldwin, I think, does a great job here. He's not in the movie much, but he still leaves quite the impression. When he's like, I can see why you guys enjoyed this so much, you feel his enthusiasm. Vanessa Kirby, I think, is a great addition. Just a cool femme fatale type of character. You don't know what to think of her, and she just plays it very well. Angela Bassett does a very good job. She brought plenty of personality to her character. Michelle Monaghan is so good in this movie. She's only in it for just a little bit, but she really stands out. She brings so much emotion and so much personal stakes to this story, and she really delivered. And Wes Bentley plays her husband, which I like Wes Bentley. I think he's a very underrated actor, so it was nice to see him. So the cast here does a truly phenomenal job. They really do. But it's the direction by Christopher McQuarrie that really allows this movie to stand out. Like, once again, he just strikes that perfect balance of action and comedy. There are some very funny moments here, but the action is on a whole other level. Like, it is unbelievable. This is some of the best action ever put on screen. This movie is tense. It is thrilling. It is exciting, and it is so much fun. It really is. So I do want to talk about some of my favorite scenes, beginning with the hospital fake out at the very beginning. I just love the way the IMF crew operates, and this moment is so funny and so satisfying, and it really stands out. And then we get the halo jump. And this scene is just beautiful to watch, and I love how the aspect ratio widens as soon as the back doors open, and the lightning and Ethan trying to save Walker, just a truly thrilling moment. And then immediately after, we get the bathroom fight, which has the famous, Henry Cavill loading up his arms. But this fight is so brutal and so well choreographed, and it is so good. Like, it's actually one of my favorite fight scenes in anything, actually. It's so good, and you feel every punch. Then we've got the fight where Ethan is leaving with the White Widow, and I thought this scene was very amusing, very entertaining. And then we get the truck chase, which is so great. And I love that one scene where the truck is driving between the two buildings and it gets stuck. Like, it just reminds me of the Uncharted games in the best possible way. But then it instantly turns into a bike chase, and that's thrilling and exciting. And then it turns into a car chase, and it continues to be thrilling and exciting. So, like, it just constantly gets better. Like, this is a whole 20, 25, maybe 30 minutes of the movie, and it's just non-stop. And then we get the scene where the IMF crew tricks Walker into revealing himself. And this moment is just so satisfying and so good, and I just love it so very much. And the shootout underground is cool. But then we get my favorite chase scene ever. And it's when Ethan is running after Walker and Benji is instructing him, but he didn't realize that he had it in 2D mode. And there's the scene where Ethan is at the funeral and he's surrounded and he's just like, I'm so sorry. Like, the music here I'll talk about more shortly, but it's so good, and just him jumping from building to building, jumping out of a building, and when he's on that bridge and he's running fast, and when he's close to Walker and he picks up his speed, and you're just like, how is anyone capable of running this fast? Like, this scene is so good. And then he grabs onto the elevator, and there's nothing he can do. He's just hanging there talking to Walker, but then he takes out Julia's picture. And I remember seeing this movie in theaters, and I was just like, oh, no. It is one moment, but it adds so much emotional weight to everything. It adds stakes, and it just elevates this entire movie because they made it personal. And then we get the finale, which I'll just say right here and now. This is maybe the greatest climax of any movie, possibly. Like, this finale is as perfect as they come. Like, we've got Ethan holding onto a rope underneath a helicopter, climbing up. He falls down at a point and still grabs onto the package. And that's intense, but then he takes over the helicopter and him and Walker are fighting in the air. But then we've got everything with Luther and Julia, which is some nice catching up. And then we get Benji and Elsa fighting Solomon. Like, it is so good and so intense. Like, my palms were sweaty, mom's spaghetti, but my armpits were sweaty because I was so invested and it is so tense. And then the helicopters crash and it turns into a cliff fight. Well, Ethan is up against this big guy, and I love how half his face gets like burnt off. It's just so good. It's so good. It's everything I want from a movie like this. And I love the way Walker gets killed with the hook. Just a brutal death. But then we also get that discussion between Benji and Luther if they should cut it at 1 second or 2 seconds. Like, how close should they cut it? And they decide on 1 second. And that decision made all the fucking difference. And when you see the light come up and you're just for a second, did they fail? And no, they didn't. But holy shit, this movie is so good. I love it. It's some of the best action ever put to screen. And I love how beautifully shot this movie is, like especially during the halo jump and the helicopter climax. It's just a beautiful looking movie. The sound design and mixing is incredible. The movie's incredibly well edited. I love the score by Lonnie Balfe. The use of bongos just fits so perfectly, but it adds excitement, it adds energy, it adds so much to this movie. And I love how this movie constantly gives you a perfect explanation of everything without it being too much. Just a really well written movie, and I love how character driven this story is. I love how this is a movie about how every life matters and the difficult decisions. And one of my favorite scenes is when they're getting into the car, but a cop sees them. And Ethan won't hurt her, but she gets shot, and as a response, Ethan shoots those other 4 guys. He jeopardizes his entire mission to help this one cop, and he wants to make sure she's okay. It's just a great scene. It really is. And I also love that one moment between Ethan and Julia at the end when he realizes that this was all set up to make it as devastating as possible for Ethan. And when he hugs Julia and he's just like, I'm sorry, and then he runs off. Like, yes, it's exciting, but it's actually very sad as well. And I love the final conversation between them about how they went their different paths and it was the way it was meant to be, and how they still care for each other. It's just a really beautifully written movie. I also love how we see just how much Ethan has come to care for Elsa as well. It would be a shame if she's actually dead, but we'll see. But I just really like the dynamics of their relationship. And I love all the different twists and turns with Walker and them wanting to get Elsa involved as well. It's just a very exciting movie that is constantly exciting. It really is. This movie is 2.5 hours long. Very long movie. it just flies by. It is perfectly paced, it's filled with energy, and yeah, like this movie just works on every level for me. There's a great story, there's some great character work, there's emotion, there's a nice romance, I'll say, between Ethan and Elsa. The movie is fun and exciting, but the movie is tense and thrilling. The movie is very funny. The movie is filled with terrific set piece after set piece. Like, they begin with a halo jump and they continue to get better as the movie progresses. Like, how many other movies can you think of that do that? It is just an action masterpiece. It is in my top 20 movies of all time. So I'm giving Mission Impossible Fallout a 9 out of 10. I really give 10s out, but this one came very, very close. But Mission Impossible Fallout. Have you seen it? What did you think? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Stay tuned for more videos soon. And Gavin,